to the 12th video in my series of You Can Play This. This episode potentially may have a brain-addling effect, as I'm going to attempt to delve into an area of the repertoire that, for me at least, is tricky. Yes, you've guessed it, I'm going for something German. There are two reasons why I'm nervous about this. Firstly, I don't speak German, so my pronunciation is going to be laughable. Secondly, I'm going to have to explain the fundamentals of mid-16th century German tablature, which is enough to send anyone into a mild state of shock. So with this as my starting point, I'm going to dive in. I've chosen a prelude from a German manuscript titled Ein neu geordnet kunstlich Lautenbuch, dated 1536. This is the first of 8 books published by Hans Neusidler, a German lute teacher in Luthe who settled in Nuremberg in 1530 and who had many, many children. He also has many different spellings to his surname, sending me into a tailspin in terms of deciding which one I should use for this video. I opted for this one. Hans Neusidler is one of 3 important German lute composers of the time: Hans Judenkönig, Hans Neusidler and Hans Görler. The fact that they are all called Hans is a little disconcerting, but I shall ignore this and attempt to move on. Neusidler adapted popular tunes of the day, making them easier to play for the young lute student and to encourage a relaxed and progressive pathway. He did this by thinning out the texture of German vocal intabulations, French chansons and Italian madrigals. In his tutor books, he gradually introduces the notes of the fretboard and avoids high playing positions. Where this music provides not such a relaxed progressive pathway is Neusidler's use of German lute tablature. This is where I start to get into a state of nervousness at the merest mention of this form of notation. I'm sure I'm not the only lute player that feels this way. Thankfully, we have lovely editions transcribed in French tablature by heroic people such as Stuart McCoy to bypass the knotted eyebrows that is the inevitable result of trying to decipher this music. I strongly recommend you head for these editions. The link is below. I'm now going to outline the fundamentals of German lute tablature. This will be done quickly to get it over with. In German lute tablature, there is no stave, there is no time signature, there are no dotted rhythmical notes, and as far as a key signature is concerned, you might as well forget it. The rhythmic flags are similar to French and Italian notation, thank goodness for small mercies. In German lute tablature, each note has its own symbol. Different typefaces can be found in circulation within this body of music. The symbols for each note are not consistent and depend on which composer you happen to be studying. Believed to have been first invented by Konrad Paumann, German tablature was designed for a 5-course lute. This is how it was planned. The 5th course wasn't labelled the 5th course but the 1st, and vice versa. Paumann then deployed the use of the alphabet in the lower case to name the fretted notes, but missed out J because it looked too much like I. The alphabet sequence also omits out W, probably because it took up too much room, and X, because by this stage he probably thought, nah, what the heck. Placing these characters horizontally across the fingerboard, he realised when he got to the 5th fret he'd run out of letters for the 1st and 2nd courses. So decided that strange weird shapes would suffice as symbols. In our dilemma about the 15 remaining unnamed notes, and so on, he hit on the bright idea of using the same symbols again, stopping at P because he'd realised he'd run out of lute. To distinguish between the lower set of notes, he added some undecipherable mark above them just to make it really clear. When Hans came along, he decided to add a lower course to the lute, but realising that all lowercase letters of the alphabet had been used up twice and horizontally, he decided to do something radical and name these extra notes vertically using German Gothic script in capital letters. The symbol he uses for the open string in the 6th course looks like it's had enough and lost the will to live. One of the many problems with reading from the original manuscript is that the letter R could easily be misread as a V. The V, in turn, could also be mistaken for the U on the top string. The E on the 1st fret 1st string could easily be misconstrued as the funny squiggle on the first course of the 5th fret. Separating the L from the 5th course 3rd fret with that of the C on the 6th course is really quite tricky. Anyway, I hope this has helped. Let me know your thoughts. Send me your comments below. This prelude is in fact very beautiful, and Neusidler's music is joyful and very easy to play. I'm just really glad there are people out there like Stuart McCoy happy to decode it for us. You can download a unique copy of this music in a nice, easy, readable French tablature edition with my personal annotations by following the link in the description box. So here it is, Hans Neusidler's Preambel. Don't forget to check out my top Luteweb tips after this. Here are a couple of top tips from Luteweb. Neusidler includes many preludes in his body of work. These have an improvisatory feel about them. In this preamble, there are many open spaces in which you can be creative with ornamentation. You don't have to overdo it. This is a delicate piece giving you, the musician, the opportunity to express yourself. As mentioned earlier, there are no rhythmical dot markings in this music, and so it's important to be able to have the ability to unpack the tablature. This means knowing when to sustain a note within a bar or across the bar line. Understanding this compositional style helps to draw out the magical musical language. I've marked these points in my Luteweb score. Here's a very clear example in bars 6 and 7. Neusidler carries on this delicate pattern in the following bars too. Don't be afraid of silence. The end of this beautiful piece is very still, soft and vulnerable. It can be hard as a player to hold this stillness. In a noisy, busy, complicated world, this is something to be savoured and shared. Make sure you download that score, the link is below. If you're a guitarist and you've enjoyed watching this video, you too can play this piece, remembering to tune the 3rd string down a semitone to an F sharp. Put a capo on the 3rd fret and you'll be at the same pitch as a lute in G. Thanks to everyone for watching, and to those of you who get in touch and support this channel. I love all your comments and I try to reply to all of them. Don't forget to subscribe. Happy lute playing.